In this video, I am going to take you on a tour of some of the locations in the City of London to show you them as they were in the 1890s and then provide you with comparative views of how those same places look today. The source of the Victorian views is this book, The Descriptive Album of London, a pictorial guidebook, first published in November 1894. According to the adverts that appeared in the press for the book, these reproductions are infinitely superior to any series of views of London ever published. Each picture is accompanied by sufficient descriptive matter as to give such details as are of interest and importance. The adverts were also at pains to emphasize that the whole of the work has been done in England by Englishmen. An intriguing photograph featured in the book is this one of Tower Bridge on the day of its official opening, the 30th of June, 1894. The introduction and dedication had this to say about the book's subject. London does not thrust her attractions obtrusively into notice. Her choicest treasures must be sought out and lose nothing of their charm for the seeking. The principal glories of the metropolis of the world are pictured in the pages which follow. Let it be our task now to point out one or two of the grander and more impressive aspects of magnificent London. Armed with this old book, I set off to visit 10 of the 108 locations featured in its pages, to film them as they are today, so that viewers can see them both as they were then and as they are now. Some are surprisingly the same, whilst others have changed beyond recognition. I have included the original captions that went with the 10 images, and in each case you will view the original photograph followed by footage of the scene today, and then have the opportunity to see a side-by-side comparison shot. So without further ado, let's board our time capsule, or at least turn the page, and set off on our tour of 10 City of London locations to see them in 1894 and 2023. Our first view takes us to the western fringe of the City of London to view this spectacular survivor, Staple Inn. According to the Descriptive Album of London, Staple Inn is a quaint and picturesque old group of buildings situated in High Holborn, not far from Chancery Lane. Staple Inn was once one of the 9 Inns of Chancery, connected with the 4 Inns of Court, but is now let out to barristers, solicitors, and others. It was attached with Barnard's Inn to Gray's Inn, but now has little beyond local connection with it. The hall of Staple Inn has recently been restored. Despite bomb damage in the Second World War, the facade of Staple Inn still looks the same as it did when the photograph was taken. Here it is today, and for comparison, here are the 2 views side by side. Holborn Circus and Viaduct. Holborn Circus is the termination of Holborn, which is a continuation of Oxford Street. Holborn Viaduct, which is built chiefly of iron, was designed by Haywood and finished in 1869. The object of its construction was to ease the tremendous amount of traffic between Oxford Street and the city. It extends from Newgate to Hatton Garden, a length of 465 yards, and it has a breadth of 27 yards. It has a very fine effect, owing partly to its curved form. Rows of buildings of a uniform architecture on either side of the viaduct conceal the actual construction. Close by is the City Temple. Near also is the Church of St Sepulchre, where a bell is tolled when there is an execution in Newgate. Today the view is still recognisable, albeit much of the surrounding area has changed considerably. For example, on the right-hand side you can make out the tower of St Andrew's Church, peeping over a building that no longer exists. This is more or less the same view as it appears today, and here are the 2 views side by side. Our next location takes us to Clerkenwell, to the north of the City of London, to view St John's Gate. St John's Gate, Clerkenwell, is an interesting relic of an old priory of the Knights of St John, which was built in the beginning of the 16th century by the Grand Prior Docre. The arms of Docre and of the priory are on one side of the gateway, and those of England and France on the other. The Knights of St John were suppressed by Henry VIII, reinstated by Queen Mary, and finally suppressed by Elizabeth. The building over the gate, which is situated in St John's Lane, is now occupied by the Order of St John, a benevolent association engaged in ambulance and hospital work. St John's Gate has survived and has changed little since the photograph was taken. Here is the view as it is today, and here are the then and now views of the gate. A little way to the south of St John's Gate lies our next destination, Smithfield Market. The Metropolitan Meat Market was erected in Smithfield in 1862 to 1868 from designs by Horace Jones. It is 630 feet long, 245 feet broad, and 30 feet high, and occupies an area of 3.5 acres. The roof is made of glass and iron. The market is intersected from north to south by a broad carriage road, and below the building is a railway depot provided with a lift by which the meat is conveyed to the market. This is the same view of the market today from Long Lane. And here are the two views side by side. Our journey continues in a southerly direction to encounter one of London's most infamous buildings, Newgate Prison, on the site of which the Central Criminal Court or Old Bailey now stands. Newgate Prison in Newgate Street dates from 1770. In 1782 it was restored after having been partly destroyed in the Gordon riots. The interior was rebuilt in 1852 and arranged in separate cells. In the open space in front, executions used to take place, but since 1868 the prisoners condemned to death are executed within the building. Newgate is now only used for the detention of prisoners for trial at the Central Criminal Court. It is a very substantial building, the material being granite, and can accommodate 192 persons at one time. Daniel Defoe and Titus Oates were once incarcerated here. Permission to view the prison must be obtained from the Home Secretary. The prison was closed and subsequently demolished in the early part of the 20th century. This is the view in the photograph as it is today, the Old Bailey or Central Criminal Court now standing on its site. And here are the two views side by side. For our next destination, we head east to pause at the junction of Newgate Street and St Martin-Le-Grande. The post office in St Martin's-le-Grand occupies both sides of the street. The older portion is that on the east side and was built from Sir R. Smith's designs in the Ionic style in 1829. The opposite building was erected in 1873, and in 1893 another building designed by Tanner was added to the north of this, greater space being required for the accomplishment of the vastly increased business. In 1892 to 93, the profits of the post office amounted to over 2.5 million. The west portion contains the administrative offices and the telegraph department. The telegraph instrument galleries are interesting to visitors who may obtain permission to see them through a banker. The north portion contains the Central Savings Bank and the office of the Postmaster General. The view in the photograph is actually looking along St Martin's-le-Grand from Newgate Street. It has completely changed today, as can be seen from this modern view looking in the same direction, albeit the northern section in the distance on the left has survived. And finally, here are the two views side by side. One block over from St Martin-le-Grand, we come to our next destination, Goldsmiths Hall. The Goldsmiths Hall in Foster Lane was rebuilt by Hardwick in 1835. It contains several objects of interest to the visitor, who must be introduced by a member. Among them are the remains of a Roman altar, statues of Cleopatra and the Sibyl by Story, the cup used at the coronation of Elizabeth, and the grand marble staircase with some good portraits. The company have the right to test and stamp articles of gold and silver made in England. In olden days, the neighbourhood was the scene of frequent fights between the goldsmiths and the other guilds. This is the same view as shown in the photograph as it is today, looking towards Foster Lane. And here are the two views side by side for comparison purposes. If we take a walk along Foster Lane, we come to Cheapside. Let's pay it a visit in 1894. Cheapside was once an open market and is still one of the busiest thoroughfares in London, though not now of so much importance as a place of trade. In olden days, this neighbourhood was famous for its jewellers, drapers, etc., and there was perpetual excitement on account of the conflicts between the apprentices of the different guilds, whose cry, "What d'ye lack?" was unceasing. The old Bow Church is one of the few relics now remaining. Visitors wishing to see Cheapside at its busiest should go either in the morning from 9 till 10 or from 5 to 7 in the evening, when suburban residents engaged in the city during the day return homewards. Cheapside does indeed look a busy and bustling place. The Bow Church referred to is the Church of St Mary-Le-Bow, which can be seen on the right. In the belfry hang the fabled Bow bells, which by tradition a true Cockney should be born within the sound of. This is that same view as it is today, with just Bow Church remaining, albeit it had to be restored after considerable bomb damage in the Second World War. And here are the now and then views side by side. For our next point of interest, we're going to take a brisk walk along Cheapside through Poultry and pause at Bank Junction to view the Bank of England. The Bank of England. This institution was founded in 1691 by Walter Paterson with a capital of £1,200,000, which has of course vastly increased since then. The business of the bank was originally conducted in the Mercer's Hall and afterwards in Grocer's Hall, whence it was removed to Threadneedle Street. Nearly 1,000 persons are employed in all to carry on the intricate affairs of the various departments, and the salaries amount to over £200,000. The present building is the work of Sir John Soane and was erected in 1788. It is easily reached by omnibus or train from all parts of London. The business offices are open to the public every day from 9 a.m. till 3 p.m, but to view the bullion, printing and weighing offices, a special order from the governor is necessary. Looking at the photograph, the Bank of England is the building on the left-hand side, whereas a corner of the Royal Exchange can be seen to the right. This is that same view as it is more or less today. And by way of comparison, here are the two views side by side. For our final view, we head in a southeasterly direction from Bank Junction to arrive at London Bridge. London Bridge. The present granite bridge, which connects the city with the borough, was built between the years 1825 to 31 from the design of John Rennie to replace the one constructed by the order of Henry III, which was demolished in 1832. The aspect of Old London Bridge, with its houses and chapel, has been rendered familiar to us in old engravings. It was, until 100 years ago, the only bridge in London. London Bridge as it now stands is nearly 950 feet long and 54 feet broad and is built on 5 arches. In obedience to a regulation of the city police, vehicles travelling at walking pace keep near the curb, while quicker moving ones keep to the centre of the roadway. Owing to this procedure, blocks in the traffic are infrequent, notwithstanding the fact that about 15,000 vehicles and 100,000 foot passengers cross the bridge daily. Although the view in the photograph hasn't changed that much today, the bridge has, as that bridge lasted till 1967 and was replaced by the new London Bridge, which opened in 1973. Here are the then and now views side by side. And so we step nimbly from our time capsule, and our tour of London in 1894 and 2023 draws to its conclusion. I hope you've enjoyed the tour, and I wish you a pleasant remainder of your day or night.